Hey guys, welcome back to this week's video. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is almost November, and so you know what that means, right? That means we are going to be bombarded with the top 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 99 trends to watch out for in 2022. So I joke because, well, actually I don't joke because those do show up in my feed quite often, but I do want to talk about one report that was recently released in cooperation with Hubspot and Talkwalker, and talk about a couple of trends that I think are worthy of discussion, but also just talk about Talkwalker and the report itself. The way that they position the data, it is not like any other social listening platforms I've seen before. It really is insightful. It's almost written like a report from primary research or some type of survey data. So I like the way it's positioned, and we're going to get into a couple of the trends. I'm not going to talk about all of them because there are several. So I'll talk about maybe 3 or 4 that, again, were top of mind for me and caught my attention. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into it. The 2022 social media trends by HubSpot and Talkwalker, how to drive success in the accelerated age of the now consumer. And again, this report itself is put together really well. It is written as if it were some type of maybe survey or research study, and they're using social data. So I think it's pretty cool how they're doing that. I'm not going to go through each one, and I'm not going to go really deep on each one. I want to just highlight what the trends are and then go deep on a few. The first one, TikTok will overtake social media. We know that. Social ads are going to develop as cookies get crunched. We know that surround sounding audiences and trying to reach and retarget consumers again is going to get more difficult. So we'll talk through that. Social selling will simplify the customer journey is the third. Fourth is post-pandemic content will shape up to consumer needs. Number 5, omni-channel engagement will change the way consumers engage with social. Maturing influencer marketing will finally come to age. Brands will lead in social media decentralization. Number 8, metaverses will be the next consumer connection. Number 9, brand inclusivity will be critical. And number 10, communities will develop and take control. So again, I'm not going to go through each one. I'm going to choose 2 or 3 that I think for me are top of mind and some of the clients that I work with. And I just think that I'm just more interested in them. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Okay, so let's go into this first one. TikTok will take over social media, leaving other platforms to adapt. This is actually a good thing. We know that Gen Z, millennials, even Gen X and boomers are migrating to TikTok for various reasons. And this is causing the other platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and others to really think about innovation and how are they going to create an experience that is sticky and get users to want to come back and create content. We know LinkedIn launched a creators program just not too long ago, which is going to emphasize like 100 different creators to really build their platform, build their community. And so we're seeing LinkedIn start to do it and others as well. And so this isn't really a bad thing. If you're a marketer and obviously you want to go to where your customers are going, but stay tuned for the other platforms to begin to innovate in how they provide the full kind of experience for their users. Okay, number 2 is social ads will develop as cookies get crunched. We know by next year, or 2 years rather, Google is phasing out cookie tracking. So it's going to be very difficult to follow your users across the internet and target them with ads. And so there's going to be other ways to do this. It's not completely going away, but if you think about, the Facebook Pixel and others, there's going to be opportunity to reach audiences once they go to your website and maybe check out or potentially download some type of asset or whatnot. But this is really important because, ads is one component of reaching consumers, right? It's all about integration. And some of the takeaways here are, leveraging user-generated content, time for some target practice. So using data to really think about how you're creating content, but also how you're targeting audiences using very strategic and focused, segmentation within the channels. And so making metrics your BFF is going to be certainly one of those things that's going to help you create more targeted ads to reach those audiences in the channels that they care about. Number 3 is social selling will simplify the customer journey. And this is really talking about not the social selling that other people kind of refer to social selling as. In the broader context, social selling is this sales technique that is meant to enable salespeople to create content, thought leadership in order to reach their audiences online and sell products and services. In this context, it's kind of like e-commerce. It's building social capability within the platforms to sell your products. And if anyone were to be affected by this during the pandemic, it's me. I spent so much money on Instagram on some of these, independent clothing lines like Built Basics and Legends and others, because they were retargeting me almost every day on Instagram as well as the other platforms. And that's really the key to, building new shopping features in order to drive sales in the platforms where users want to spend their time, right? They don't want to click off to a website, create an account, punch in all their information and buy products. They want it done quickly. And so by building that capability within the apps, that to me is going to drive more sales and just overall better experiences. Okay, number 4 is post-pandemic content will shape up to consumer needs. And this really is just adapting to customer behavior. And there's some analysis here on the type of brand mentions and both video and image content type were really driving most of the engagement across the platform. One of the things I want to call out here is what they're calling the audio's agile acceleration. Now, we saw the rise of Clubhouse. We see the rise and the fall kind of Clubhouse. I'm just kidding. But there's also Twitter Spaces and many other social audio platforms, kind of like podcasting type of apps come onto the scene. And, again, it's reaching an audience where in their preferred platform. Some people can be on a conference calls or checking email and participating, well, maybe not conference calls, but working and listening to audio conversations that are live, talking about the topics that are most important to them. Talkwalker calls out a couple different content here, about authority, mental health, music, etc., where people are just gravitating towards these communities that are important to them, that are topically relevant to what they're interested in. And so if those conversations are happening within some type of social audio app, then so be it, right? Brands need to not just participate, but also leverage analytics to better understand what those topics are in an effort to, create content that is a lot more relevant to what your consumer needs are and what they are. So number 5 here is omni-channel engagement will change the way consumers engage with social media. Wow, that's a mouthful here. What this is saying really is integrated marketing, right? It's surround sounding your audiences with messaging that is consistent, that is relevant, that drives value. So when I'm scrolling through my feed on Instagram, I see a message. When I'm Googling information, I see a similar message. When I'm driving down 101 or up 101 to San Francisco, I'm seeing billboard ads that are reinforcing that messaging. So they're surround sounding me with different types of content, different types of ads, different ways that I consume that content. And that's the way that integrated marketing should be all the time. It's not really a trend, but I think now that, with COVID-19 happening and consumers kind of confined to their home for the last 18, 20 months, now brands need to get a lot more creative and savvy in ensuring that message is not just integrated across all channels, but it's repetitive, right? It's repeating that message 3 to 5 times. So consumers like you and I will start to believe what it is they're saying and buy their products or believe what their brand promise, whatever that is. They give a couple of examples here of Twitter and Reuters joining forces to battle misinformation. I thought that was interesting. A couple of ways that, and what they're saying is, takeaways for accelerating brands is focus on your audience. And, this is something that I talk a lot about on this channel. I write about a lot of audience analytics, and they're absolutely right. If you focus on your audience, a lot of the trends actually that they talk about here in this report, you can kind of get ahead of the game. If you can forecast and predict where your audience is going and what they're saying, you can potentially meet them where they are when they get there. And that's always a good thing for brands. The last trend I want to talk about is maturing influencer marketing will finally come of age. Now, I have a kind of a bone to pick because, most of my experience in influencer marketing has been in the B2B side. And from my perspective, B2B doesn't get a lot of love, right? The media doesn't write about it. People don't really talk about it. There's a small group of industry pundits who are, having conversations. I'm a part of that conversation on social media, but for the most part, they don't get a lot of coverage, right, in the media. And I get it, right? It's not a lot of TikTok activations, not a ton of Instagram, not yet at least. And for consumer brands, their consumers are spending time in these channels. They are becoming influential in these channels. They are selling and buying products and talking about it in these channels. So it kind of makes sense, right? It makes sense that the media is focused on, these Gen Z and millennial influencers who are really moving the market with their large communities and with the content that they're creating. And so finally come of age, I'm not really sure what that means other than, it's been here for a while. Companies are investing millions of dollars, not just consumer brands, but B2B companies are spending lots of money in figuring out not just activating influencers, but researching influencers and trying to find out topically who are the most influential individuals that they can partner with. And so again, this is something that I think will mature. I talk a lot about the software that powers influencer marketing from an identification standpoint, campaign management. And, there's probably 30 or 40 different consumer brand influencer marketing software out there. And they all, there's a few differentiators. Some of them, for the most part, do the same thing, different. There's always a few things that make one better than the other. But on the technology side and the B2B side, there's really only one, and that's Analytica. And they're really innovating the space and integrating LinkedIn and building kind of a marketplace. So there's a lot of room for innovation. And I think 2022 may not be the year that will happen on the B2B side. But I do think brands are starting to, invest more dollars into influencer marketing because they're seeing benefit. They're seeing benefit and business value in terms of what they're doing in reaching customers online. And actually, this will be the last trend I'm going to quickly talk about. Communities will develop and take control. And, this has been a conversation that's been happening for several years. We had companies back in the day, 2006, 2007, companies like Jive and Lithium, who were building these communities where kind of, I don't want to say they were forums, but they were kind of forums with more broad capabilities, right? It was kind of a community where people can converse and talk about technology and talk about, the things that they're passionate about. If you go to Apple forums, that is built on a Lithium platform, which is now Koros, but it's a way to answer questions and solve, customer challenges. And so, I think brands have been talking about this for years because they've been investing money into Facebook, millions of dollars, building communities on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and all these channels. And we don't really the brands don't own the experience. They don't own the community. And so if, God forbid, one of these, social networks went out of business, then, these brands are going to lose everything. They lose their entire community. They lose that one-to-one engagement that they have with millions of fans. And so I'm starting to see a lot of brands who are building experiences that are on domain or maybe not on domain, but owned media. So they're building this experience that require registration, that, email newsletters is one kind of way to think about it, where they're building a channel to where they can have and build community directly with their audiences without having to go through these large social networks, because it's kind of unfair, right? If you think about the decline of organic reach, and, back in the day, you had 100 fans, you posted on Facebook, you posted a piece of content and 100 people saw it. Today, you have 100 fans, you post content, 1 to 3 people will see it unless you pay for it. So I understand the trend. I don't know if it's going to take off, but it is something that brands have been really, talking about for several years and trying to, figure out how do we build a place that is scalable, that is a place where, our customers, our audiences will feel accepted, will feel like they have a voice, and also one that is going to deliver value. So again, I think it's a good thing to talk about. I'm not sure it's going to come to fruition, full force in 2022, but it's definitely worthy of conversation. So, all right. So again, the 2022 social media trends, how to drive success in the accelerated age of the now consumer, by Hubspot and Talkwalker. Highly recommend you download it. The link will be in the description section. Please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And if there's any value whatsoever you found in this video, please share it in your channels and reach out to me if you have any questions or thoughts or comments or concerns. I don't really know. I don't like doing forecasting or trends for the following year. I have my own thoughts and ideas about it, but I really enjoy seeing what some of these platforms are doing and what they're forecasting for next year. So give it a download and feel free to reach out if you want to discuss and maybe have a conversation on this video, on this channel. Thinking about doing more one-on-one conversations with people. So reach out, let me know, holler at me. And until I see you next time, please have a great week and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.